Hey, my friend, it's Melanie Ferguson, your host of Creatives on Fire, the podcast where I hope to inspire you to create a profitable six-figure following online. So turn it up and listen in to amazing stories of success, along with behind-the-scenes secrets and valuable tips from, you guessed it, Creatives on Fire. Welcome back to the podcast. This week, it is our treat to have Nancy Westfall. She spent 20 years teaching elementary and segued into the online space with her colorful cookie business. It has turned into an amazing six-figure business for her that includes a club and a special event. Nancy, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Melanie. Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad you're here. Listen, just dive right in and tell us exactly what got you to pivot from being an elementary school teacher, which I'm sure is super fulfilling, to an online entrepreneur.
Yes, I did love teaching elementary school, and then I stopped teaching. I didn't do anything for about 10 years. I mean, I didn't do anything. I was a stay-at-home mom to two kids who were in middle school and high school, so I did do something. But after, about 10 years, I was like, I want to do something for fun, just for me. So I'd always wanted to learn to decorate sugar cookies, and I set out to do that. And I searched YouTube and blogs, and there wasn't a whole lot out there at that time. Now you can find that stuff everywhere. But I started teaching myself how to decorate cookies. And I wanted to use stencils on my cookies, and I knew you could purchase them, but I needed custom things like name stencils, and, people would want to order and they would want something specific in the background. And I thought, well, I can make my own stencils. And because I'm a huge DIYer for everything. And I remembered a long time ago, I had a Cricut machine. And I couldn't figure it out. It was the one that you didn't use with the computer. It had the keypad on it. Well, I gave it to my sister, and she figured it out like in the first day. And so my sister is Amy Sadler, by the way. And yeah, so she figured that thing out like in the first day. And I was like, that thing, she must be smarter than me. So anyway, then 10 years later, I'm like, okay, I'm going to try just an X-Acto knife. Well, that was a joke. And I thought, no, I'm going to just go buy the Cricut. So I went and bought a Cricut, taught myself how to use it. It took quite a bit of time because there was really nothing out there for stencil designing. You have to think in reverse when you're designing a stencil. So taught myself that and found a cookie Facebook group that were talking about cutting stencils on their Cricut and their Cameo machines. And I thought, okay, I can learn this. So I took a lot of time to practice. And when I started learning, I started sharing in that Facebook group. And people were asking me questions, and then they private messaged me, and I was bombarded. And then they said, well, I need help with my Cameo. And I didn't use a Cameo. So I said, well, I can learn, and I'll teach you that too. So I did that for 2 years in a Facebook group just for fun. And it took over my life. So I thought, okay, I got to do something different. I don't even have time to decorate cookies anymore, and people want to learn this stuff. So I had a friend, and she said, why don't you make a business out of that? And you have a skill. Why don't you sell it? And I said, oh, I can't do that. I've been doing it for free. Nobody's going to pay me. And she said, yes, they will. So I started the Colorful Cookie Club, and that's how that came about. And that club grew so quickly. I have taught thousands of people now how to design because once I started the club, people started to get to know me, and I got asked to teach in person at different events. And then I became a licensed silhouette instructor from Terry Johnson and taught at one of her All Things Silhouette events. And it just grew from there. And somewhere along the way, the club is 4 years old now. And after about 2 years, I wanted to start highlighting my club members. And I said, why don't we have a fun event where we just do some lives on my page, the Colorful Cookie Facebook page. You come on, do a tutorial, and we'll just share that with everyone, and I can promote you guys. Well, that started as a fun little event, and people loved it. And they said, oh, please do this again. When are you doing it again? So we did it again, and we had That was just for fun. Again, I start everything for fun, and then it turns into something, big, and I can't handle it. I have to hire help. So we did that for the first 4 events just for fun, for free on Facebook. And we got more and more people coming and watching. And I started a Facebook group just for that. And we called it Cookie-a-thon. And we started having the event in there. And it just continued to grow. That group went from, well, we have about, I think, almost 18,000 now. It grew very quickly. And each event, it grows even more. But what I started doing to make it easier on me, I was scared to death that Facebook was going to crash, because one of the events, I kept getting this notice they were going to put me in jail because I was sharing the cookiers from their pages. And I got worried. So I found another way, and I started a website for people to purchase the All Access Pass. And we still do the live in the Facebook group, but I don't worry so much because I know I have all the recordings on the website for the people who purchase the pass. But the event is free for everybody in that Cookie-a-thon Facebook group. For 24 hours, the videos will play. And then we started with 1 day, and now we're up to 4 days of tutorials.
That is so crazy. And obviously it sounds familiar because I have the Craftathon, which
Right.
is kind of guided towards the same. We both do the same thing. And we have recently segued to this pre-recorded method, and I think it's going to be amazing. But Nancy, this is crazy. So you couldn't shake that teacher in you. And I've learned from a lot of teachers that once you're a teacher, like that is your gift. And so you just literally went from teaching elementary students to teaching cookie makers how to use their equipment, how to probably, I'm guessing, run a business, and, probably recipes and all the things that go with that. And it's amazing. So when you were just getting started and you started this Facebook page because so many people were asking you about your knowledge, how did you know what you were going to do next?
Okay. I did not know what I was going to do next. And that was hard for me because I think everything has to be perfect before I move forward. And that was in my mind, that was the way I worked. And I very soon found out that you couldn't do that. I just had to proceed and move forward if things weren't perfect. And that was hard, but I did. And now it's pretty easy for me because nothing online in this tech space is ever perfect. There's always something wrong with some app, or there's a glitch somewhere in something. I mean, there's always things to do that you have to just with a website. There's so many things, so many moving parts. And then the Facebook group, people need your help. They rely on you to be in there to help them. And then, you've got your emails that go out, and there's just so many moving parts. And I found out very quickly it cannot be perfect. You just have to move forward. And that sometimes, I will say, that's a little bit hard for me still, but I've seemed to push through that. But I knew as a teacher, I do love teaching, and it's in me. I'm always teaching, whether it's officially in a public school or online or in person or with people that I know and my friends. I just love showing people how to do things, and it makes me feel so good when they accomplish that. And I always tell them, I love that light bulb moment when they go, oh, I get it now. And it was just an easy transition for me. However, I knew nothing about websites. I knew nothing about email sequences. I learned all that as I was going. And I'll tell you that I did learn through some tears, because there were some moments when it was very hard. And I felt like I didn't know enough. I can't do this. I don't know what I'm doing. I need help. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I'm not taking any time for me. And there are days that I still feel that way, but it's hard. This is not just one of those things you get into and do it halfway. You have to be 100% every day, all day long.
And where did you get your help? I mean, I know I heard you say you were self-taught a lot of things, but did you just search online, or how did you get your answers?
For the technology piece, well, that's the thing. I didn't hire anybody for a long time because I thought my market is so unique. And what I teach is so unique, people don't know how to do it. And I didn't know what to do. So I did nothing for 2 years, and I struggled and got exhausted and got down and sick. And so I started looking for someone to help me. And I went to this website, a lady that trains VAs. And I just put in my information and what I was looking for. And I had several, and it goes onto a board somewhere. Uh, I forget the name of it, Michaela something. I can share that with you though, because I really found a wonderful VA. I got several applications. I had to look through all of them. They were very detailed. They came by email and I went through them, and I had a friend help me because I'm not good at that. I'm good at teaching. I'm good at creating. I am not a good business person. I am not. And that's not my thing. So I have a friend who will sometimes give me her input, but she helped me go through all those applications, and we pulled out two, and I talked to both of those ladies. I hired two. I ended up not needing one because it was just more than I could handle to be teaching both of them what I needed done. But the one that I have is wonderful. She does everything. My email sequences, she takes care of my membership, people coming and going. She, helps me in my Facebook group. But I just interviewed her after I got her application. But it is really wonderful now that I have her. She's like my right hand. And it took some training and some time, but she's very sweet and kind, and she has learned the things that I like and the way that I do things, and she's just excellent at it.
That's amazing. And so you started out just going into this Facebook group where it was part of your niche. You just probably went on Facebook and kind of searched cookie
Mhm.
makers or something of that nature. You found a group, it was free, you plugged in, you
Mhm.
started helping people, answering their questions.
I became known as the go-to person. If you needed help, you need to ask Nancy because she'll do everything she can to help you. And I still do that today.
I love that.
I bend over backwards to help people because I was there, and for 3 months trying to learn that Cricut, knowing nothing about it and knowing nothing about designing or stencils. Oh my goodness. I remember the frustration, but that's how I know when someone types what's happening, I know immediately what the problem is because
Mhm.
I experienced every single problem. And it was the same way with the Cameo. And then I didn't mention this, Melanie, but people started saying, "Hey, I want to learn how to design cookie cutters." And I was like, "Well, I can learn that." So I learned to design cookie cutters and use 3D printers. And so now I also teach designing cookie cutters and printing them with 3D printers. And then they said, "Could you teach us how to use Procreate on the iPad?" So I learned that. So anytime someone asks me, it's like kind of like a challenge, I'm like, "Yeah, I can learn that." And then I teach everybody.
And so do you have these in like a course or just is it part of the club?
Actually, it's part of the club. So when people purchase their membership, they get access to every single thing that I teach. I think we have 16 different categories now, or things that I teach. So I know a lot of people sell those products or things that they teach separately, but I've always just let everybody access everything when they join the club. And I feel like that's what I'm about, is teaching everything, not one thing in particular. And I've taught them how to do many things, where I started teaching out how to design stencils, only cookie stencils. Now I teach them, how to use print and cut, and print then cut on both machines and software, because we make edible images for our cookies. And I taught them how to emboss parchment paper to create impressions on their cookie icing. I teach how to use the Icon Art stencil kit to make cookie stencils. There's just so many things. When someone asks, that's why I'm the go-to girl,
I
because
love that.
I figure it out and teach them.
So, you are definitely motivated by the challenge of learning something new and then sharing that with others. And that I think is super key for anybody looking to do something in the online space. Let me ask you, Nancy, when you go on these speaking engagements, how does that come about?
Well, because I became known on Facebook with cookiers around the world, we have this huge event called CookieCon. And it's been around for 10 years. The 10th anniversary is coming up. I've been to seven of them, and or 8, and I've taught at 7 of them. Once people started to know me, they at CookieCon, they would do like a questionnaire and say, who would you like to teach? Who would you like for us to bring in to teach? Because CookieCon has add-on classes before the event begins. And those are teachers like me who come in and teach cookie decorating. And I teach stencil and cookie cutter design, and this time Procreate. But so that's how it came about, just being known in my cookie community and people reaching out to me saying, hey, would you be a guest on my blog? Or would you come do a live with me? Or would you come teach in person at this event? It just, from people knowing who I am, they just reach out to me because I'm all over Facebook and Instagram, and it's easy to find me.
That's awesome. So just basically putting yourself out there, making yourself available, and of course, being knowledgeable. And I think the key and what we're not missing here at all is the one thing. You are known for the cookie stenciling, and people just gravitate towards you that want to learn about that. And I think that that's important. So Nancy, I know there's tons of distractions out there. You were talking about, how some of the things were really, really hard that you had to learn in the beginning and obstacles you had to get over. How do you stay focused?
Well, I am such a determined person, and I don't like to give up on things. I will just work so hard. And I'm not a person either who establishes like 5-year goals or 10-year goals. I just know in my mind what I want to accomplish. I don't have to write it down anywhere, or I don't need to see it every day on my wall. I just know in my mind what I want to accomplish, and that keeps me focused. That's pretty much it. I'm not one of those people who, I am one of those people who sometimes gets sidetracked, and I have to remind myself to stay in my lane because I can only do so much. I'm only one person, but being focused for me isn't hard. I think I just was born focused.
That's so funny. So if you were to give yourself back when you first got started and you were just thinking about this in your head, and you just joined the groups and you're noticing a need, what advice would you give yourself?
Well, the one thing that I'm really bad at doing is when someone needs help, I want to be there immediately, no matter what, because they need help. I would tell myself to work that into my schedule rather than me trying to uh, live around that schedule and be there for people all the time. I'm just in Facebook. I'm helping people. I'm emailing. I don't take a lot of time for myself. And so I think my road would have been a little bit easier had I set my work hours. When you work from home, you work all the time. And I can go in and I can eat dinner, but I can also come right back in here and work at 8 o'clock at night. I did not set boundaries around that. And that is still hard for me sometimes, although I'm way better. But I think my one piece of advice from the very beginning is to set boundaries for myself and know that I can only do so much. I'm one person and I do have limits. And there are only so many hours in the day. And that's the one thing I would tell myself. And I think if I had done that along the way, things would have been a little bit easier for me. I wouldn't have been as stressed. Sometimes some things would happen and it would just hit me wrong because I was so stressed. And I would just, have a personal meltdown in my head. But I think the best advice is just to set boundaries for yourself and stick to them because you need to take care of yourself too.
I think that is gold. That is absolute gold, Nancy. Everyone listening should, especially when you're leading with that servant's heart, you should definitely make sure that you have some sort of schedule in place, some sort of map that you're going to follow for amounts of time you're going to spend on social versus amounts of time you're going to spend on the business versus amounts of time that you need to spend on you. So, Nancy, this has been amazing speaking with you. It always goes by so fast. We'll probably have to do a part 2 because I really want to dive into more about your club and your events. But tell us where we can find you online.
You can find me at thecolorfulcookie.com, at cookieathon.com. And then on Facebook, I am The Colorful Cookie. And on Instagram, it's at The Colorful Cookie.
Woo! Now I want to go have cookies.
Oh my goodness. If you're like most people, you will say, oh, those are too pretty to eat, but they're not. They are made to eat, even though they're pretty. Decorating sugar cookies is so rewarding and fun. It makes everybody smile. Everybody is happy to get those cookies. And I always tell everyone, we need more happy in the world today.
I love that. We do. We need more happy in the world today. Nancy, thank you so much for being a guest.
Thank you, Melanie. I really appreciate it.
Have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, my friend, for listening to the podcast. I'm blessed every single time you come back and listen to an episode. It's especially amazing when you share it with others on social media. So be sure to follow Creatives on Fire online. Listen, if you have not already done so, I want you to go ahead and download the 5 ideas I personally used to explode my online audience growth to a 6-figure following. You can find that at creativesonfirepodcast.com. I appreciate you, and until next time, stay inspired.